Netflix just put out that they're working on a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery, which owns like Harry Potter and DC Comics and freaking Game of Thrones.
Yeah, if you didn't heard, I think who else they tried to bid Paramount for Warner Brother? Oh wow, and this is a brand new fresh news. So Warner Brothers is gonna favor Netflix over the 108.
Speed,
So
shut the hell up! I'd smack the.
it was how much? 82 billion. What kind of weird shenanigans are going on? Bro, 82 and Paramount offered 108. Oh my god. Warner Brothers Discovery has told its shareholders to reject Paramount's Skydance $104 billion takeover bid. Paramount has said its offer was superior to a $72 billion deal that Warner Brothers struck with Netflix for its film and streaming businesses. When a dramatic plot twist in the story of who will take control of one of Hollywood's oldest and most famous movie studios, Warner Brothers board unanimously recommended rejecting the offer and agreed the deal with Netflix was in the firm's best interest. That is so weird. That is so weird because they always go on about how they need to make the company money, right? They say that they have a legal obligation to make money to its shareholders. That is, let's see, 108.4 minus 72. That is $36.4 billion that they would just leave on the table like that. So where's the priority? Unanimously. Oh my god, let's just do a quick search, right? Warner Brother Board of Directors. We got David Zaslav, Gunnar Wind. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just gonna butcher your names. Gunnar Windefels. This actually hits, right? They're saying Warner Brothers board unanimously. So there's 12, 15 people here. Look at these old geyser. Look at these people. These 14 people, they all decided that $20 billion they could do without. So if we do 20 divided by 14, that is disgusting. That is so disgusting. So so it's 1 billion point 42. I guess there must be some other special thing going on worth about 36 billion. Bro, what the fuck? The media giant put itself up for sale in October after receiving multiple expressions of interest from potential buyers, including approaches from Paramount Skydance. On the 5th of December, Warner Brothers Discovery said it had agreed to sell its film and streaming businesses to Netflix. In a lengthy legal filing, Warner Brothers Discovery Board said the offer from Paramount poses numerous and significant risks and strongly rejects the idea that the Ellison family, one of America's richest, is financially supporting the bid. Paramount is backed by the billionaire Ellison family, which has close ties to the president. In a reflection of where power now lies in the entertainment industry, the Warner Brothers board said the offer from streaming giant Netflix is well financed and offers better long-term value to shareholders. This is what they would say is worth $36 billion. Netflix welcomed the recommendation from Warner Brothers. Ted Sarandos, Netflix co-chief executive, called the company's merger agreement superior and in the best interest of stockholders. In a letter to Warner Brothers shareholders, Netflix reiterated its stance that its bid for Warner Brothers involves a clearer funding structure and less regulatory risk. Paramount could still come back with another offer, meaning the takeover saga gripping Hollywood isn't over yet. There are considerable differences between the Netflix and Paramount offers. Netflix wants to buy Warner Brother movie studio and its HBO streaming service, which will also give it access to Warner Brothers' rich library of content and secure access to those movies and shows for a subscriber. That would be a big win for Netflix. It would definitely cement them in the streaming world. They would probably most likely get back to those golden days where everybody had Netflix. But it doesn't want the media giants pay TV channels. If Warner Brothers goes with the Netflix deal, it would leave Warner Bros. To sell off its television networks, such as CNN and TNT, into a separate company before the takeover is completed. TV is going to the trash, but shows, that's where the money is. Intellectual property. Paramount, on the other hand, wants to buy Warner Brothers in its entirety. So that's a better deal. That's where the TV channels and everything that would be worth $36 billion to Paramount, right? Which would mean acquiring competitors to its own TV channels such as CBS, MTV, and Showtime. Regulators might raise questions about erosion of consumer choice as the entertainment industry continues to consolidate ownership. So you got private equity everywhere. The week after Netflix announced its deal to acquire Warner Bros., Paramount Skydance launched a new offer for the whole company, including its television networks. A takeover of Warner Brothers is expected to face scrutiny from competition regulators in US and Europe. A new owner of Warner Bros. Will gain a significant edge in the highly competitive streaming market. It will get a huge library of films and TV shows, including Harry Potter, the Monsterverse. Is that a thing? Is that like a Dracula, Frankenstein, the really Godzilla and King Kong? Other monsters. Well, these are pretty popular. Friends and the HBO Max streaming service. Some of the film industry have criticized the plan to merge all or parts of Warner Brothers with a rival. The Writers Guild of America's East and West branches call for the merger to be blocked, arguing that it would result in lower wages and job cuts. Well. That is that's pretty interesting.
Brothers Discovery, which owns like Harry Potter and DC Comics and freaking Game of Thrones. And this deal is estimated at $82.7 billion. Is that a good deal? I don't freaking know. But what is hilarious is this amount of money, one of the biggest acquisitions in all of entertainment history. This amount of money is still less than Nvidia, Oracle, and OpenAI are just passing around in a circle playing hop.
Just to be clear, because the video here is so good. It's a great, excellent video, but they're not like actually giving each other 100 billion. They're like signing agreements that they're gonna be doing 100 billion worth of purchases of the service, of the product in between each other in a set amount of time. And it does get more complex with the other companies that are involved with, which is going to be the next picture.
Potato with $100 billion. Part of that $100 billion that goes around there is
CoreWeave, that's pretty crazy. Yeah, there's some news that came today, I think, or I think I saw it in the video with the Oracle where it's not going as good as it should.
is actually funded by us by investing into the companies. And this tech conversation is starting to breach into the mainstream because it's getting so freaking insane. We got people like Drew Gooden, or how I like to type it apparently, Drew Gideb. But I'm sitting here thinking like, huh,
This is a good video
you too? It's about time that people start to notice. I feel like people in the tech community have been seeing this for years and years, and we've just been screaming into the void, but now something is finally screaming.
A decline in luxury car sales is thought to be a canary in the coal mine for an economic downturn, meaning someone or something that is an early warning of trouble or danger. Yeah.
Back. And nothing shows us more is when Jensen went on Joe Rogan, and he went into the fact that Nvidia started as a scrappy company, that they were barely getting by.
Everybody had chosen the right technology approach, and we chose the wrong one. We found ourselves essentially dead last with the wrong answer. I was in a contract with Sega, and I owed them this game console. That contract would have been canceled. We'd be dead. We would have vaporized instantly.
And they eventually figure out how to make graphics.
Instead of building a 3D graphics chip for every 3D graphics application, we decided to build a 3D graphics chip for one application. We bet the farm on video games. You know, GeForce is really, today, it's also the most advanced.
Just real quick, everybody, or it's supposed to be common knowledge, you should never bet all in the same place, you know. Don't put all your eggs in the same basket. But if it pays off, man.
3D graphics technology in the world. But a long time ago, GeForce is really the game console inside your PC.
And gaming is a very consumer-focused area. Nvidia used to be a company for gamers, and now look at them.
We put it in all of our graphics cards. Kids were buying it to play games. You probably don't know this, but we're the largest gaming platform in the world today.
Oh, I know that.
Oh, okay.
I used to make my own computers. I used to buy your graphics cards.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Set up SLI with two graphics cards.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's super cool.
Oh, yeah, man. I used to be a Quake junkie.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
PC is usually a personal computer. Computers aren't that personal anymore. It doesn't even feel like we are the target audience anymore.
That is such a good point. It used to be something that we could, oh man, that's so
More. Because for the rest of the interview that Jensen talked to Joe Rogan, he barely ever mentioned gaming anywhere past that. Because that isn't really his focus anymore.
Until now, our knowledge that we generate and we propagate and we send to each other and we amplify it and we add to it. In the future, maybe 2 or 3 years, 90% of the world's knowledge will likely be generated by AI.
Okay, this is so stupid. This is so stupid. So there's already existing knowledge, right? There's already people that thought about things, they put it down, some people improved on it, and it survived through time. So what do you mean that everything's going to be made by AI if you guys already complain that there's not enough data in the internet for you to train your models, that you need to do synthetic data, which is data that is produced by AI? How is that going to be good if you copy something and you copy that copy and so on and so on? After every iteration, it's gonna be so bad. It's gonna be so far off from reality. How can you be of sound mind and say that with a straight face? I can understand that he's a salesman. He's supposed to prop up his company. Uh, he's projecting a future that he would like to see realized, because most likely the approach that they're going about is wrong. It's wrong. It's just wrong. But let's see an image of AI copy. That was a very bad choice of keywords. That was a very bad choice of keywords. That's so unfortunate. I saw a video where they were that's what they did, they just redo the same image over and over and over, and it got just so scary, so unsettling. Anyways.
That's crazy.
I know, but it's just fine. And the reason for that is this. Let me tell you why.
Okay.
What difference does it make to me? I am learning from a textbook that was generated by a bunch of people I didn't know to knowledge generated by...
Yeah, the difference, very simple, very easy, very straightforward. Those people that made something new, and your AI, it took that work that was made, and that's what it's spewing out. Simple as that.
AI computers that are assimilating all of this and resynthesizing things.
So that's what you're saying. They take that and they reword it. They're just gonna reword it for somebody that's stupid. It doesn't help anybody. You're just adding an extra step.
To me, I don't think there's a whole lot of difference. We still have to...
Oh man, you're triggering me so bad.
Fact check it. We still have to make sure that it's, based on fundamental first principles and just...
So that's another step again. So instead of having somebody that's working on something that they know about and they're professionals, you're gonna have them do that, take that, feed it to an AI, and then you're gonna have to check that your AI is working the way it's supposed to. and you think that is a better way to learn. That is so dense.
just like we do today.
Tim from Hardware Unbox also interviewed this guy from Sapphire, which is a leading partner for AMD graphics cards.
Gamers are what created a lot of the GPU market. It wouldn't have existed without gamers. 3DFX created 3D gaming. NVIDIA wouldn't be what it is today without PC gaming. AMD wouldn't exist as a company without gaming. Gaming kept it alive when it was on life support.
And to be honest, I don't really hate Jensen. This is a logical step for his business to take. But the fact that the incentives that are out there now only prioritize businesses to make as much money as possible and get as greedy as possible. If you're a publicly traded company, you have to prioritize making money for your shareholders. And one of the major issues is this can prioritize short-term profit over long-term growth. We do quarterly earnings calls. Every 3 months, the company needs to look like the line going up and to the right. But realistically, should it behave like that? At some point, they're gonna decide that our money, normal people's money, they've milked us dry and they can't get any more out of us. So they're just gonna leave and make more money elsewhere and abandon us or even charge us more for the scraps that are left. Like recently, this has been a crazy thing, but Micron, one of the 3 major players of companies that make memory for all of our devices, they just announced they're exiting the crucial consumer business. Now,
At this point, like everybody's is doing that. It is so bad. And you know what? I was talking about that to my cousin, and regular people, they don't seem to be aware, because this is gonna have an impact on everything. Everything that has memory. So now they're talking about SSDs as well, RAM, everything. Your computer, your cell phone, and next year's models, they're gonna be more expensive. Your gaming console. So some people are predicting that the next generation is gonna cost over $1,000 because of that. I don't know, man. This is pretty bad.
ignoring the fact that crucial, the irony, and apparently it wasn't that crucial because they just kind of gave it up. But ignoring that, this is just crazy. Like, they specifically just call out that they want to prioritize their enterprise customers. The AI-driven growth in the data center has led to a surge in demand for memory and storage. Micron has made a difficult decision to exit the crucial, not so crucial, consumer business in order to improve supply and support for our larger, strategic customers in faster growing segments, because apparently they can't make enough money off of us, even though Crucial has been a successful business for 29 freaking years. Micron aims to improve long-term business performance and create value for strategic customers as well as stakeholders. So apparently what they're thinking, and this might even be true because these companies probably want to shift us to not even owning computers anymore, but pushing everything into the freaking cloud. But they said that this is a long-term business decision because their consumer branch apparently isn't going to be a long-term thing.
Yeah, we're gonna have cloud computing for everything. I'm pretty sure that Google's executive are just biting their fingers right now because of Google Stadia. That shit was ahead of its time. If it was just made better, they would be deeply inside that game right now. But it looks like Microsoft is going to be the one that is going to win the cloud computing.
So they cut it. Also, the strategic customers as well as stakeholders, so shareholders for the company, they're being prioritized for profit, as much money as they can put on their books.
I'm just bummed, right? Because there is an inherent advantage to having more competition in the market.
If you head over to platforms like Twitter with Crucial Memory as their post, they say, for an amazing 20 years of trust, collaboration, and shared success, Crucial wouldn't have been where it was without you. Difficult decision. It was a very difficult decision. Spineless and embarrassing. When you come crawling back to consumers after the AI bubble bursts, you'll know where you can shove your product.
That's a nice sentiment, but reality is that we saw the same thing with the graphics card. there are people that they're just gonna buy it, and I don't know if you're familiar with this image. This is something that everybody should get familiar with. That's pretty funny. So there's the same principle here with like the 10%. 10% of people that are contributing to 50% of the expenses in the economy. So they're still growing the expenses. It kind of looks like this one here. But if we just read the K-shaped economy isn't just the new stagflation, it's worse. Main Street struggles to match Wall Street in K-shaped economy. Yeah. So you actually have like two economies coexisting together, and it doesn't have the same impact on people living in them.
Products. So there is a lot of people online that are saying that.
Yeah, so this is a nice sentiment, but the reality is most likely people, they're just gonna buy it as soon as it comes by because it's gonna be a shortage. A shortage means there's not gonna be any for anybody. The same with the graphic cards, with the crypto boom. So as soon as there's a new supply, people, they're just gonna jump on it. And if you think most people aren't, they won't. But the 10% of people that has the most money, they will. They're gonna take everything. They're gonna keep the prices up. Everything's good. You know, the price rises, but they never go down. Allegedly, it's even more dangerous if they go down.
You'll know where you can shove your products. So there is a lot of people online that are saying that Micron will pay for this decision. But will they actually? Obviously, as you would expect, following this decision, it did go up. So this was announced about like December 3rd or 4th, I think. And since then, it's gone up at least 12% in terms of their share price, or 16% if it's on December 4th. People, at least on the stock market, think this is a reasonably good decision to make. It went up pretty quickly. Now, that's part of the problem, is it's the short-term growth instead of the long-term business decisions. And just because of this decision, I went out of my way just to buy.
Oh man, that's so crazy because what was it? This one here. This is in the best interest. I think a little later. Anyways, the sentiment was that it would be a better payoff in the long term. So there are some contexts where they are able to do that. They are able to postpone short-term gains for better long-term ones. So they just say, they say shit when it fits. And that's pretty disgusting. Just when it suits them.
A crucial drive. What the hell is going on? Like, is this drive good? Why the hell are they getting rid of this brand? Because this Micron Crucial situation is only one part of the problem. Like, every computer needs memory, every computer needs storage. And Micron, Samsung, and SK Hynix are really the only manufacturers that make these things for all of our devices in the world. And right now, we're gonna see prices change like crazy. I bought this memory. It is a 48.
Yeah, so the thing is, there's not even a shortage yet. Nothing has actually happened yet. People has just announced that they're gonna start doing those type of things, and the prices just doubled, tripled. It hasn't been a month yet. That is insane. That is so insane.
8GB kit. It's really fast memory. It's 8,000 mega transfers per second. I bought this kit for $235 back in August of this year. And I thought at the time, I was like, I don't know if I want to buy this kit of RAM because that's kind of expensive. But if you go and try to find this exact same kit of RAM right now, it's sold out on Amazon because there's a shortage. This RAM, same kit pretty much, $500 right now. It doubled. There's another kit of RAM that I bought earlier this year. That I think this was in January of this year. $120 for 64 gigabytes of RAM. That is so freaking affordable. It's amazing. $350? Like, what just happened? That is almost 3
Nothing.
times the price of the RAM. And here's another
Just
thing just to shock
nonsense.
your eyeballs. 128 gigabytes of RAM. Like, that's a ton of RAM, but freaking $1,000, more than $1,000 for some sticks of RAM. Holy shit. Ain't it wild to be at a point where Apple and their memory prices are looking more affordable? Apple looking downright affordable right now. RAM prices on computers have been going up like crazy. The thing about it too is these 3 companies, Samsung,
I wasn't paying attention when I saw this video earlier. I didn't notice what he meant when I was saying that Apple looked cheaper. Bro, 380 for more RAM. And that is cheaper than what's on Amazon right now.
SK Hynix, and Micron, they all make the memory, okay? But they just make these chips and they're kind of detached from the global market. Like, companies need memory. They can control the supply and kind of decide how much it ends up costing. RAM is a commodity. So Micron pulling out their crucial consumer business, memory prices are skyrocketing like crazy. They're basically going to be shorting the supply even more. So the other companies that are still selling to consumers, like Samsung, which sells drives to consumers, or SK Hynix, which also has their own brands and stuff, these prices are only going to get worse. Now, I will say with this
I read this week that because of the COVID supply chain issues, Sony has like its own little stash of memory. But I mean, that's just gonna get you so far. Next year is gonna be wild. I can't wait to see how far it can go.
crucial, not crucial. It might not be as bad as a lot of people would like to make it out to be. It seems like they're going to stop making all of their crucial products by end of February.
End of February 2026. It's in 2 months. So there's actually nothing that has happened yet.
2026. So that is not really that far away. But something to consider is that Micron is a manufacturer and they make memory for a whole bunch of different devices. Like, I know I had a graphics card. It was a RTX 3080, and when I tore that thing apart, I could see that it had Micron memory on it. And just because Crucial isn't a thing, that they're not selling specifically Crucial branded RAM or Crucial branded SSDs, that doesn't necessarily mean other companies won't be able to get those chips and still make those things. This isn't great. We're still losing another consumer facing business from the major manufacturer too. Now, as I said here, Micron is also prioritizing things like the memory, like HBM, which servers tend to use a lot more and not consumers. We don't use that shit. So we're probably gonna have less opportunities to even buy it still. There's gonna be less supply out there. And this stuff gets like nasty. Like this memory stuff has happened so many times in the past where they tried to price fix. What's terrible is because there is really only 3 companies that
Man, we get scammed all the time. All the fucking time. Everybody's trying to scam you. And they do it. And they get caught. And they just pay a little bit of money. They all make so much fucking money out of scamming you. These fines, they're just the cost of doing business. And that shit is just fucking disgusting.
control all of the memory and storage that's made in the world. Hey, if we just work together, we could just raise prices and nobody's gonna have any other option and we're gonna make more money. So why wouldn't we end up doing that? Back in 2006, this case investigation actually started in
Oh my god. $731 million in criminal fines is the second highest total obtained by the Department of Justice in a criminal antitrust investigation into a specific industry. Fucking 731 millions. In 2006. Price inflation. This is a US price. So we're gonna put 2006. Oh wow. October. It's gonna be pretty precise. October 2006 and 731. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that would be worth $1,176,555,004.96 as a fine. And it's just a fine. That is the price of doing business. So they're making so much more money off of us. And this is just a drop in the bucket. It's disgusting.
in 2004, I'm pretty sure, were investigated by the Department of Justice. They were said they owed more than $731 million as fees because of this investigation. That they were basically found guilty of colluding and price fixing. There's been another antitrust lawsuit that happened just as recently as 2018 about these companies also colluding to raise prices. Now, I don't know how this one has worked out. I would think that this case would have gone through by now. So this has happened in
2006, 12 years later. This is the same with Microsoft. They had, I think, an antitrust lawsuit with the browser that they had. They lost. They took a big break, and then there was a new one. So this is the first case in 1998. Holy shit, $55 million in 1983. And then you wonder why everybody was on cocaine. Decades later, Microsoft antitrust case casts a shadow over the Google trial. What do you mean? What do you mean? Is it Google? thought it was Microsoft that was in hot water again because of that. Yeah, I think maybe it's maybe it was Google. The recent one was Google. Oh, so much money, man. That's crazy.
In the past, that these memory companies have worked together to screw over consumers, and all at the same time, they're making more margin on every single product. So we're
That's gross.
paying for this screw up. There's been situations recently where Nvidia
Okay, if there's one AI site builder you need to meet, it's this dope tech from Wix. Now this whole flow is a conversation, so your words actually build your website.
and AMD, they're invested in the same companies. Nvidia owns a portion of Intel nowadays. Like,
That
what
is
the
so
hell is happening?
incestuous.
They are competitors. OpenAI is going to get a cut of AMD,
That's
which
gross.
Nvidia is getting a cut of
All right, people. I'm not gonna say anything for this part. I'm just gonna browse the web real quick. NVIDIA. Uh, Trump's tech billionaire cohort in the Royal Welcome. Friday, 19 September 2025. Billionaire tech bosses of NVIDIA, OpenAI, and Apple joined President Trump for the King's Banquet as the UK secured major investment into AI infrastructure. That is pretty crazy, right? Back to the video.
OpenAI. So it's like, how the heck is all this working? Like, these companies, are they really competitors, or are they just acting like they're competitors? And I think that's how it's been with gaming graphics.
I mean, I'm into entertainment. I really enjoy it since forever. And I've done theater. I think theater is very cool. That's a very cool idea. And people have enjoyed theater since a long ass minute. They found theater. They found some very old amphitheaters. Man, that's crazy. The form of performing art that uses live performers. That's crazy. That's crazy.
These cards for quite a long time. Nvidia used to be a gaming company. Jensen talked about it.
We bet the farm on video games.
But there's only really been two major players in graphics cards. That's been Nvidia and AMD. And for the longest time, I mean, people come out here and they say that AMD is trying to compete with Nvidia, but it seems like at every single step, AMD falls short for some reason. It's like, oh, they can't make a competitive enough GPU, or they get the supply wrong. They want us to think that they're competing, but it seems like AMD is more than happy with just taking the scraps from Nvidia and just letting Nvidia own the market, basically. And let's dig into Nvidia first. We can break down all the major.
I just want to let you know, guys, I'm not a big hardware guy. Not really into it. So I can't really comment on all that shit right here.
Chip companies. Now let's start off here with Nvidia with the GeForce Partner Program. This was in 2018. It was just a disgusting program. Like, on the surface, they tried to make it sound really, really freaking good. Like they said out here, they want to make, you know, advertising more and more clear for these partners. But really, what Nvidia was doing is they're already a pretty large majority market share, and they're trying to leverage that position to make other board partners that normally could work with Nvidia or AMD. They tried to force them to only working with Nvidia, which was build up the market share and basically force AMD out against their will because they wouldn't be able to work with these other partners. It made companies like Asus, they were going to launch Ares graphics cards for AMD because Nvidia wouldn't let them have ROG AMD graphics cards. And even to this day, Asus still struggles to put out high-end, top-end flagship graphics cards for AMD. And really freaking quickly, this whole thing got knocked out. Everybody saw right through this and how his manipulating partners are going out there. Like, did this ever really end? Or did it just kind of take under a new reign? Like, Nvidia still has to this day an Nvidia partner network of companies they partner with. You do get benefits if you work closely with Nvidia. And Nvidia has shown that they are very willing to cut into consumers. Really, we're just numbers on their spreadsheet of the freaking...
Yeah, so they also said that they're not a video game company. That is not them, not their identity.
line going up and to the right. But this wasn't nearly as bad as some of the stuff that happened during cryptocurrency. Now, if you guys don't even remember, it was around 2018, 2019.
Yeah, so that was a GPU shortage.
There was already a push for crypto miners to mine things. I think it was Bitcoin at the time. And I know I mentioned cryptocurrency and I bring back flashbacks from everybody because during COVID, there was a GPU shortage. Prices were up like 2 to 3 times of what they should be, and that was even if you could buy one in the first place. Like, graphics cards was awful. You know who won? All the companies that were getting insane margins. It didn't cost them any more to make the chips that were going out there, but they were selling for a ton more because the supply was limited. People wanted graphics cards. Apparently that wasn't quite enough because even at the time, they tried to make things like low hash rate graphics cards from Nvidia at the time that mines coins slower. Apparently they were trying to virtue signal that that was the case, but at the same time, companies like AMD and PowerColor and Sapphire.
I mean, back then it felt like crypto mining wasn't really worth it, and I started seeing these ads for like I don't know, it's called Crypto Nerd. No. This type of shit. Allegedly, people are still mining blocks with, but not Bitcoin, obviously.
Hot selling graphics cards directly to miners, even though they're clearly gaming graphics cards. MSI was making specifically miner graphics cards. They saw the opportunity to make money, and even though they're supposed to be consumer graphics cards companies, they're gonna sell it to these people that are taking advantage of the situation. 700.
Mostly with how many times they said the miners. I wouldn't be surprised if somebody who really likes baby oil wouldn't be excited to get some GPUs.
100,000 GPUs just in the first quarter of 2021 at the time was shipped to crypto miners. Not even to us. We never even saw a lick of that shit. To be honest, this whole situation reminds me of what's going on right now with the AI boom. And they're selling graphics cards to all these places out there. And they're even smuggling graphics cards into places like China because a lot of these cards were banned in China from even going through. So Gamers Nexus made a whole freaking documentary about the process of how these GPUs specifically aren't even going to us, but they're getting smuggled into other countries. The moment that Nvidia realized these graphics cards could be used a lot more than just consumer stuff was the moment that we did not matter anymore. And yeah, they're gonna try to maintain their gaming business, but is that their priority? Because right now, H200 AI chips, which takes away chips that could be made for consumers, these are getting sold into China now. They were banned at one point, and now that they're approved.
Oh yeah, because these ones, I think they're Are those the one at $20,000? Roughly 30,000 to 50,000. That's a lot of money. Wow.
That's crazy.
Literally, the first conversation I had with Secretary Lutnick, I just want to let you know that you're a national treasure. NVIDIA is a national.
Howard William Lutnick is an American businessman and a philanthropist who has served as the 31st United States Secretary of Commerce since February 21, 2025. He is the former chairman and CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald and BGC Group. Lutnick succeeded Bernard Gerald Cantor as the head of Cantor Fitzgerald. I don't know, man. Well, I wasn't sure, and now I'm sure.
National treasure. Whenever you need access to the president, the administration, you call us. We're always going to be available to you. And it was completely true.
I mean, if I like to get to tell, I don't know. It just feels absurd. It just feels like it's just theater.
Every single time I called, if I needed something, I want to get something off my chest, express some concern, they're always available.
But all this AI profit is never enough. NVIDIA's got to keep consuming.
So this guy, he's the Secretary of Commerce, and he told this guy, you can call me whenever you need to get something off your chest. It just feels so odd to me, this type of relationship. Are you a business? Are you in business or you do therapy? What is that about? And what do you have to get off your chest, my friend?
They're always available.
But all this AI profit is never enough. NVIDIA's got to keep consumers also on the hook. They got to keep us spending more and more money every single generation while finding a way to give us less and less. Because they have found out there's other ways to keep us buying. Here is NVIDIA DLSS, which is pretty cool because graphics cards that came out all the way back in 2018 can support some of the latest things that are out right now, like ray reconstruction, the newest versions of DLSS upscaling. Those are really, really cool features if you can take advantage of them. At least gamers get something out of AI, if you know what I mean. Something that NVIDIA found out they could do is limit one feature to upgrading generations. And if you can hold one feature back, you can keep people that think that that feature is so amazing they're missing out on it. Because performance wise and value wise, these graphics cards haven't actually gotten that better since like 2020. I mean, they are better, but marginally so. Actually gotten that better since like 2020.
Extreme flagship TI 8070 GeForce. My graphics card is so far off. Core memory VRAM price. I mean, I'm about here.
20. I mean, they are better, but marginally so. NVIDIA could hold things like DLSS frame generation. Like when RTX 40 series graphics cards came out, this 2x frame generation could only be run on the cards because it needed the specific optical flow accelerator.
The second component is optical flow accelerator,
Whereas that wasn't available apparently on RTX 30 series cards or 20 series cards. They got people like, oh, you could double your frame rate. That's a feature you don't want to miss out on. But by the time RTX 50 series graphics cards came out, NVIDIA revealed that 30 series cards, 20 series cards even, could have ran this stuff all along.
Today, we're introducing an enhanced single frame generation model for RTX 40 and 50 series GPUs, which, like the multi-frame generation technique for Blackwell, uses two AI models, one for optical flow and another for frame generation.
They really wanted to. They could have made it work because NVIDIA switched to a
That's a
model
bunch of
that doesn't
shit.
use the optical flow accelerator anymore. It uses two AI processing. And to this day, those older cards still can't do 2x frame generation. But also when 50 series launched, and I don't really like these features that much. I don't really use frame generation that much, to be honest. But 50 series launched with multi-frame gen, so you could do 3x or 4x frame gen.
the Blackwell architecture, the display engine was improved to leverage flip metering when generating multiple frames.
And this time around, they needed a flip metering technology in order to pace the frames properly.
Flip metering. Flip metering.
Which is maybe true. We've seen
That's pretty
third-party
funny.
software that can do this without any of that stuff, but it does have a little bit more latency at that cost. So maybe it is true that 50 series has a special hardware on it that older cards can't do multi-frame generation. So if you want this technology, you're gonna have to buy the latest shit. So these kind of features, they specifically limit because they know that you might want to try it or get it, and it keeps you on that upgrade horse, and they're gonna charge you even more for graphics cards all along. This is the current generation of graphics cards. We have the 5090, 5080, 5070 Ti, 5070, 5060 Ti, and 5060 and 5050. Top end cards back in the day used to be around $1,000, and nowadays a 5090 is like a $3,000 graphics card. We also got cards like the RTX 5080. 80 class cards back in 2020 used to be a $700 card, and now in 2025 it's a $1,000 graphics card. And the 5090 on paper is literally double the 5080. It's got like twice the cores, twice the VRAM, twice the bit bus, and it can do things that the 5080 struggles to do a little bit more. Even as you go down the stack, NVIDIA keeps you wanting to upgrade because the RTX 5050, 5060, and 5060 Ti all have 8 gigabytes of VRAM. And 8 gigabytes of VRAM in 2025 really does struggle in quite a few games. So they get you to want to spend all the way up until the 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte, which is a $430 graphics card. If you just want to get
What are we talking about? Fucking developers, they can just optimize the games. They can optimize them to run on shittier software. There's a whole dedicated community of people using handheld computers that run. Oh my god! So they do it on Android cell phones as well. They run the latest and hardest on the shittiest hardware. You don't need that shit.
get into PC gaming and have a graphics card, throughout the years, it's going to use more VRAM in these games. If you want it to last for a few years, you're gonna at least have to spend $430 just to get into PC gaming. The new graphics cards were gonna come out too, like the Super Series ones, and these ones have more VRAM on them. Like the 5070 is gonna go from 12 gigabytes to 18. The 5070 Ti is gonna go from 16 to 24 gigabytes, and that's because they're upgrading the physical chips on them. And that would be a lot more VRAM, but as you can tell, there's no 5060 Super in the rumor mill at all, which would make it a 12 gigabyte graphics card, which honestly would be really great at about $300, but Nvidia, they don't want to do that because that would be way too generous. But also, what the heck happened to the Super cards? Because apparently they were going to be announced around the beginning of 2026, and now all those rumors are cut out. They're going to be delayed because the memory situation. Not only is memory hitting DRAM prices on systems and everything, but it's also hitting graphics cards because apparently there's so little VRAM out there right now, they can't even release the Super Series cards for consumers because all of it's getting taken up by data centers. Nvidia used to also sell the memory along with the chips to the partners. Now, since they're so uncertain about this memory, they're not gonna package those things together anymore. We don't.
NVIDIA reportedly no longer supplying VRAM to its GPU board partners in response to memory crunch. Rumor claims vendors will only get the die forced to source memory on their own. That's their business model.
Don't deserve VRAM at all. So not only do the VRAM options suck right now for the most part until you start paying like $500 plus really, you also aren't going to get any upgrades to the VRAM, not for a long time. Probably till late 2026, and that's even if the rumors that they're going to be released later in the year are even true. So it seems like being just a normal consumer with a computer sucks right now. You might think that this would be a perfect opportunity for a company like AMD to strike. Well, don't forget that AMD is also a public company. Don't forget that neither of these companies care about you more than a number on a spreadsheet. AMD is no different from NVIDIA. NVIDIA made two graphics cards. They made a 5060 Ti 8GB and a 5060 Ti 16GB and made a separation in prices there. But AMD, whether you like them or not, they did the exact same freaking thing. They put an 8GB card and a 16GB graphics card.
The 9060 gets a lot of bad press, but even the 9060 8GB is not a bad card. It's a very capable gaming card if you have to keep your costs low.
They couldn't undercut NVIDIA.
That's someone who's aware. He's in the industry, right?
Here and just do the pro consumer move and just name it at least two separate graphics cards.
I think the early criticism was not unfounded. The naming convention was done wrong, in my opinion. By calling them both the XT, it did create some confusion in the marketplace. We tend to forget sometimes people like you and me, we're actually the upper 5-10% of PC gamers. Most PC gamers don't care about hardware. They really could care less. They just want to know, does my game run good? Does it look pretty? Is it crashing? It was a valid criticism.
AMD is also going to take every opportunity to cut corners. They just can't get away with as much as NVIDIA does. And something that happened recently, just insane. Like, how does this even happen? But
yeah, sorry about the noise in the wall as the neighbors.
Consumer graphics card company came out here and they just said this. Tried to drop their old graphics cards. You know, NVIDIA just recently dropped support for their 1000 series cards, Pascal, which came out in about 2016, 2017. And technically RX 5000 series cards are like 2019 when those cards started to come out. But they're also going to drop support for the RX 6000 series cards, which would mean these cards wouldn't be getting day one driver updates. They would only be getting quarterly security updates on their older cards. And as you would expect, the community response was pretty freaking rough to this stuff, and they deserve it. AMD never misses an opportunity to miss an opportunity. That's the AMD I remember. Some of these graphics cards are really not that old. Like these 50 XT cards started to come out in what was that, 2022? When these cards came out, it's only like 3 years old. Do you expect a graphics card to only last for 3 years? That's crazy. But this card, as little as just summer of last.
I bought my computer used and it was already old. My graphics card, I don't want to even say what number it starts with.
Last year was $300. Going consistently. Like AMD was just gonna drop support for a card they're selling as little as just a year ago. What kind of product support is that? I mean, you're actively selling this. It's not our fault if you didn't mean for it to exist that long on the market, but still, and this RX 6600, for example, is an older card. I think this was 2021, but this card was still actively being sold as little as literally a year ago. And AMD's just like, we're just not going to support it anymore. And they just thought nobody was going to notice this. Now, pretty soon after, AMD completely reversed this decision because the blowback was insane. So I'm glad like AMD didn't get away with that, but we can see if they can try to get away with something, they're going to attempt to do that. These are new products still. They're going to drop support on them. Just like how this is a new product. The RX 7600 is still
Oh
being
my
sold
God, there's
actively
so
right
many
now
cards.
for about $250. This card came out in 2023. It's like AMD's entry-level lineup. Now, it's not really that great of a deal because I would probably spend a few bucks more in order to get the 9060 XT 8GB at the very least, because it has the modern features. And that's one of the major things about this, is the RX 7600 is an older architecture. But AMD just recently released a set of features called FSR Redstone, which includes things like their AI upscaler, which looks really freaking good. I just made a video on ray regeneration, which tries to make ray tracing look better while not costing that much more performance. They also introduced their new machine learning frame generation, and there's another ray tracing feature coming down the pipeline that should also make it run more efficiently. All these things seem pretty cool. Then you go to these comments and it's just like, you're not gonna give machine learning upscaling to RDNA 3? Really? As a 9070 XT owner, it's nice to finally get it, but some of my friends still use slightly older cards. They shouldn't be stuck with horrible FSR 3. Their older upscaler in games looks so much worse. What about the 7000 series? Could you communicate on it, please? So basically a lot of people out here on Twitter are just, they're not even talking about the new features that are out here. It's kind of crazy. Nobody gives a about them because AMD decided to not support their old cards whatsoever. Cards that came out, the 7600 is still being actively sold right now. Nah, I'm not going to support that. Which is crazy because things like the Steam Machine are coming out relatively soon. It's just based on RDNA 3, and that's not going to have the new machine learning upscaling. Isn't that crazy?
Oh,
A new device that Steam partnered with AMD on is not going to have this feature. And even products that came out recently that AMD also partnered with, like with Xbox and ROG, Asus, AMD chips in it, doesn't support machine learning upscaling. And the
this device here is one of the reasons what I was saying that Microsoft might win the cloud computing.
craziest part about all of this is AMD is intentionally not allowing us to run the AI upscaling, which would be a huge visual improvement on these cards and on these older architectures, even though they already have developed this stuff to make it run. They developed a version of the AI upscaler because the older stuff technically doesn't have the full FP floating point 8 operations that you need for the AI upscaler that's on FSR 4, but they do have integer 8 AI engines on them. So AMD did develop an entire FSR 4 int 8 pathway for older graphics cards, and they just decided to not release that to the public, even though we have found the files. AMD accidentally released the source code to this stuff, and people got it running in games. I haven't tried this for myself personally. From what I've seen though, is it looks pretty damn good. Now typically, because it's running on older cards that don't have as good of AI performance, usually you don't get as much of a performance lift. Like at least if it's going to be a toggle in the driver that allows you to run it, they could just give us a warning that you're not going to get as good of a performance increase, but you're still.
What do you mean, man? You know what? Maybe I can't tell the difference.
Gonna have better upscaling, so it's kind of a balance between image quality and stuff. At least support the people who supported you, especially because you're technically the underdog, even though this is more like a duopoly. It's just like AMD is not prioritizing consumers at all. At every opportunity, they're gonna do the exact same thing that Nvidia does. It makes me go crazy. It seems so obvious the move that they should do, but they're not gonna do it because it doesn't help their books. Goodwill? Nah. Quarterly earnings. And what scares me is because all these companies seem like they're on the same page, that they're not going to cut into each other's margins that much because at the same time, they're all winning. They're all making record profits. So like, why would they fight each other? You would think that there'd be like an antitrust collusion going on here, maybe an investigation. But what I find interesting is, you know, what happened to Intel? Intel is a company that went from being extremely dominant into being in a position where they got so complacent, they completely let their lead slip, and they thought they could take more from us than everybody else, and they weren't going to offer consumers more at all. During the 2010s, there was a period of time where Intel CPUs didn't change basically at all. It's kind of embarrassing of how little they actually did change. Over this time, AMD was able to build up some of that competition. And part of this really did happen because Intel was a major leader in terms of their chip fabrication. Everyone in the world wanted to be them. Their Intel 10 nanometer process was delayed in 2015, and in 2020, they also missed their 7 nanometer process. And if you know anything about computer chips, they are very reliant on how efficient they are and how much they can clock by how accurate and precise the manufacturing technology is. If they're able to get smaller and smaller and more precise, then they get there. But Intel was stuck on Intel 14 nanometer for a very long time. That allowed AMD to use companies like TSMC.
But they said that they were going to open, or they already opened fabrication in the US. Major hub, massive new investment, over 32 billion for leading edge chips. $15 wafer fabs. That's the thing. The one in the US opened up. Yes, it officially started in October 2025. So, Intel Fab Chandler. I don't know. Oh, there we go. So I think it's a Fab 52. This one here. So they do 300 millimeter. Fab 52. I thought they would be doing one of the small ones there.
In order to get better fabrication, and AMD Ryzen was able to catch up to Intel. And to this day, Intel's still having problems with their fabrication because like 14A is like smaller. I think it's like around a nanometer or something like that. They need other companies to want to fabricate their chips at Intel fabs. Their foundry and stuff, I mean, the US government now protects it, but yeah, would it really exist if that wasn't the case? The thing is,
man, I think it was there that they were having issues. Oh, it was for TSMC. Bro, what happened here was weird. 50% of TSMC's Arizona employees are from Taiwan, despite recent controversies. That was a weird story that happened there. Because people in Arizona allegedly they don't like to be exploited, not as much as in Taiwan.
Is throughout these years, they also were being extremely anti-consumer. This has been something that Intel has pushed for a very long time, that every time you get a new CPU, you can't just drop that into your motherboard. You gotta buy a whole new motherboard. You gotta buy a whole new RAM every single time you upgrade their CPU. So all of their partners get a cut, and Intel gets a cut of those motherboard costs for the licensing fees and everything like that. One of their more recent motherboard platforms is the LGA 1700. I'm actually on this right now. I'm on an i7 13700K with this computer, and it only supported 2 generations of CPUs, Alder Lake and Raptor Lake, which was 12th and 13th gen. There's also Raptor Lake Refresh, which is 14th gen. Even in 2025, Intel.
So this is something that you see in almost every consumer product. That gets some sort of a refresh every now and then. Right now I have specifically printers in mind. So you get the cartridges for like the same model, but is it just the next year's version? And the cartridges, they just have like an added ridge or, you know, a different slot on the cartridge and make it so that you can't use it in like the other version. So if your printer breaks down, you know, after a couple of years and you have like a stash of cartridges, you're fucked, man. You just need to buy new cartridges with a new printer. So they're doing that for everything. It is disgusting.
Until, or at least this is 2024, they introduced their newest motherboard platform, which is LGA 1851. Meteor Lake didn't drop on desktop, so I don't even really know why it's listed here, but Arrow Lake also came out, and it's on 1851, and that's the only set of CPUs that's going to be on here. There's an Arrow Lake refresh that is coming relatively soon. This is still like technically rumors at this point in time, but we saw that the refresh does work on the current platform because Z890 is an LGA 1851 motherboard. This is just going to be a refresh though of the CPUs that are already out. And Intel's next generation of CPUs is going to have another new socket. And these decisions with Intel over time has completely eroded so much trust that a lot of people just aren't buying their shit anymore. And the prices on these things, even their newest CPUs, I mean, yeah, their performance really wasn't that impressive, to be honest. There's some insane sales right now. I even saw some recently that blew me the away. An i5, or basically an i5 245K, not that long ago, it was coming with Battlefield 6, and it had a discount code for another like $30. So this was only like $140 CPU, which is an insane deal. Really, for that price, this is a great freaking CPU. Or the Ultra 7 265K is $293, or if you buy the one without integrated graphics in it, it's only $210. That is insane how much less that costs. Like, these aren't that expensive of products. Say with Micron, you know, letting Crucial go is like, will people accept Crucial if they ever came back onto the market? Or is Micron forever going to be selling to just businesses and partners, and the entire RAM market will get more and more priced out of consumers and normal people? Is this an entire plan to us not even to have personal computers?
Yeah, that's a point. It just benefits everybody. It creates a situation where we're gonna be forced to migrate to cloud computing
anymore. They couldn't get enough money out of us already. Why would you compete when you could just make some more money in data centers? Even though data centers still make money off of us and our data, apparently that's more profitable than just selling to the consumers themselves. And honestly, it's crazy just to see how all this has worked out, how the greed has gone to this stuff, and the incentives that lead these companies to keep wanting to ever chase more and more money and innovate more and more and more, but more on the front of even financial engineering instead of just giving us affordable computers. It's weird because a lot of this is getting driven by AI right now.
Impossible to imagine that it wouldn't be of national security interest to get there first.
The question is what's there. That was the part.
What is there?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It won't be a
Nothing at all.
moment. It won't be as if somebody arrived and nobody else has. I don't think.
There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing. Here's why. So you have just better models, bigger models, improved models. There's a great video I saw where I don't remember what the person was explaining that there's no sign of intelligence in the LLM. So if you just go by the fact that it is unable to learn information, it has no intelligence. So if an LLM is trained, it's like a snapshot in time with all the information it was trained with. But you cannot just add new information in there. You have to train a new model. So if you just go by that reasoning, it doesn't have intelligence. So it doesn't matter if you have the stupidest model with just one very cheap computer, or you have the biggest data center with all the resources in the world. If you do it the same way, you just add the computing, you're not having intelligence.
I think it's going to be like that.
I do kind of agree. Like AI is very important, and to get
All this to say, it's still a tool. There are still uses to it. It might be useful, but just for an intelligence aspect, it doesn't make sense.
ahead of that, another country is going to do it if we don't do it. But guess who comes at the cost of that? Normal people's jobs, normal people's incomes, normal people's power bills that power the data centers. Because there's less supply of energy, we have to pay more on our electricity bills. It just kind of leaves me speechless. I guess let me know what you guys think about this, but at the end of the day, things like memory, it feels bad if you have to buy a kit of RAM right now, or if you buy a device and the price got jacked up because memory prices are going crazy. If you
We haven't seen that yet. We haven't gotten there yet. That was the most scary. Next year is gonna be some wild shit. Because right now, the only people that are aware is people that are closer to tech, because tech and video games, but it's not even like a known thing. Most people, honestly, they're just gonna have the surprise, like the prices are gonna be way up next year, and they're gonna ask, what the hell is happening?
you have to buy that right now, it sucks because it feels like you're supporting and endorsing this behavior. But at the same time, you do need a device at some point, and memory is a necessary component of that. What do you do?
That's all right, to each its own, but you should make peace. You don't need a new device all the time. You don't need a new thing all the time. There are ways to make old things feel fresh or work better. You just need to put a little bit of effort. And in some cases, there's nothing to do. You need to change, but it's tough out there, guys.
I mean, all I can really encourage is to make the most of what you have. Apparently, it's supposed to be that memory prices are going to calm down around like this time next year. So if you can hold off for a year on an upgrade, possibly things might quiet down. But we can't even be sure of that. It's funny because Jensen in the Joe Rogan interview,
I think you have to go back to what is the purpose of a job? The question is, what is the job? A lawyer, for example, help people. That probably hasn't.
That is such a whole bunch of shit. Just please bear with me.
or that. It's funny because Jensen in the Joe Rogan interview,
I think you have to go back to what is the purpose of a job?
What is the purpose of a job? Depends which job, right? Because different jobs have different purposes. Pretty straightforward,
The question is, what is the job?
right?
A lawyer, for example, help people.
That's not what a lawyer does.
That probably hasn't changed. Studying legal documents, generating documents, is part of the job, not the job.
But don't you think there's many jobs that AI will replace?
If your job
Particularly
is the
automation.
task. Yeah, if your job is the task.
Right. So automation.
Yeah.
Factory
if your
workers.
job, if your job is the task.
That's a lot of people.
It's gonna replace your job if your job is the task. And the task he mentioned,
Netflix just put out there they're working on a deal
Oh,
with Warner.
no.
What you have. Apparently, it's supposed to be that memory prices are going to calm down around like this time next year. So if you can hold off for a year on an upgrade, possibly think interview.
For example, help people. That probably hasn't changed.
So the
Studying legal
task-
documents,
studying legal documents,
generating documents, is
generating documents. These are the type of things that it's going to be able to replace.
part of the job, not the job.
But don't you think there's many jobs that AI will replace?
If
I would have loved to hear something new. Honestly, something that everybody is not trying to do right now. They don't have any idea what's the purpose of all this. They have something and it's not even a finished product, but they're trying to shove it in everybody's face everywhere, as we saw with Mozilla Firefox before.
If your job
Particularly
is the
automation.
task. Yeah, if your job is the task.
Right. So automation.
Yeah.
Factory
if your
workers.
job, if your job is the task.
That's a lot of people.
It seems like normal people because AI is going to replace so many jobs. I mean, as long as you're not doing the task specifically, a robot could be doing that task, whereas the people can manage things and think of new ideas and interpret data that's out there. I'm just out there like, there's not enough jobs for that. People aren't smart enough to do that shit. So like AI is definitely going to take a lot of jobs. And what Jensen even suggested was universal basic income.
There'll be so
And AI is a misnomer. This irritates me so much.
much abundance of resource that nobody needs a job and we'll all be wealthy. On the other hand, we're going to need universal basic income. Both ideas don't exist at the same time.
Right.
And so we're either going to be all wealthy or we're going to be all using...
How could everybody be wealthy, though? What
because
scenario do you-
wealthy, not because you have a lot of dollars.
That's a post-scarcity society.
Wealthy because there's a lot of abundance.
And judging by how all these companies behave, do you really think, as much as they lobby the government, Jensen talks himself that how he's in contacts with Trump all the time and Trump always listens to him?
You call us, we're always going to be available to you.
Do you really think with as much money as these companies
I think he was more talking about the other guy we saw earlier. Oh man, but it's still a weird relationship to have with the government.
have, how money hungry they are, and how much they influence the government, that we're going to be getting like your universal basic income or something? Like, let's be for real.
And honestly, one of the points of to make UBI work is that you need to abolish government. So there wouldn't be any other services or assistance to anybody else. Everybody would receive the same amount of money. So you would need to get rid of every government subsidies like that. That's not gonna work.
So let me know what you guys think about this whole situation. All I can really say, make the most of what you have. Don't buy unless you absolutely have to. Hopefully things quiet down. So that's going to be it for me. How greed completely destroyed computers. I'm going to see you in the next video. Hopefully y'all have a good one. And peace.
That was a great video. I subscribe to him. And you should too. Alright guys, thanks.